The camera shows the town of Toledo in Spain and the entrance to a clinic called El Cigarral. Inside, a young dark-haired woman named Vera Cruz, Elena Anaya, is doing yoga on a sofa. She's wearing a flesh-colored body stocking that covers her entire body, except for her head, hands, and feet. Vera then meditates in a lotus position on the floor. She also works with ceramic sculptures, applying strips of material that match her body stocking to one of them. The head maid at El Cigarral, Marisa Paredes, asks another maid to help her with a dumbwaiter. Marilia carries a tray with food, drink, a book, and some cloth. With the other maid's help, she puts everything into the dumbwaiter and sends it up to Vera's room. Vera retrieves the items and uses an intercom to ask for sackcloth and double-sided tape. Marilia tells her she can't get these until tomorrow. Vera then asks for thread, a needle, and scissors, but Marilia says she can't provide these at all. Vera goes to her closet, which has several torn garments. She takes out a green print dress, puts it on over her body stocking, and tears a strip off of it. The scene changes to a lecture hall where a surgeon named Robert Ledgard, Antonio Banderas, is giving a talk on rebuilding facial muscles and features in burn victims. He has been involved in several face transplant surgeries, and his main focus is on repairing scarred and burned faces. That evening, Ledgard drives into the garage of a maternity hospital. A man approaches his car and hands him a large case, which Ledgard pays for. Ledgard then drives to El Cigarral, his estate where he also runs a clinic. He takes the bag from the hospital, which contains a pouch of blood, to his lab. He examines a sample and puts the rest of the pouch in a container of dry ice. Ledgard goes to his room and turns on a large screen TV connected to a camera in Vera's room. Vera is lying in bed, seemingly asleep without a blanket. Ledgard takes a tin of opium and a bong and goes to her room, which is next to his. He unlocks her door, revealing she is confined there. He finds that Vera has cut her wrists and breasts in a suicide attempt. He quickly takes her to an operating room in the estate and treats her wounds. As he tends to the cuts on her breasts, Vera tells him she'll try again unless he kills her. Ledgard doesn't take her seriously, saying she would have cut her throat if she really wanted to die. He seems fascinated by her skin. After removing the body stocking, he notes it's softer than he expected. The next morning, Marilia brings Ledgard some animal blood, which was drained while the animal was still alive. Ledgard takes it to his lab. He's working on developing a synthetic compound that looks and feels remarkably like human skin. In the lab, there's a mannequin of a female body on a gurney. Ledgard applies the skin compound to the mannequin. We then see he has applied some of the compound to Vera's body. The synthetic skin is tougher than real skin and can resist burns. He uses a device that emits a short burst of low-temperature flame over her leg, and she feels no pain until he moves it to another part of her leg. He also places a jar with a mosquito inside against her skin, but the mosquito doesn't land or try to bite her. Later, Ledgard gives a presentation at a biomedicinal symposium about the synthetic skin compound, which he has named Giel, after his late wife who died in a car crash. This synthetic skin not only resists burns, but also masks human odors from biting insects like mosquitoes, preventing them from biting and spreading diseases such as malaria. Ledgard explains that he has tested the compound on athymic, hairless mice, with results that have exceeded his expectations, making him believe it's ready for human trials. During a break at the symposium, the chairman asks Ledgard about his research. He's skeptical because Ledgard's claim that the synthetic skin is stronger and tougher than real human skin suggests it must have been mutated. Ledgard admits to using transgenesis, transferring genetic information from pig skin cells into human cells. He argues that similar genetic modifications are done to meat, fruits, vegetables, and clothing materials, and believes it's the next step in improving human life by potentially curing diseases and correcting genetic deformities. However, the chairman refuses to accept this ethical compromise and warns Ledgard to stop his research or face being reported to the medical community. Ledgard tries to reassure him, saying Gal was a personal project done in memory of his late wife. When Ledgard arrives home, he goes to his room and checks on Vera, who is lying on her bed reading. As he zooms in the camera, she suddenly looks toward it, as if aware he's watching. Ledgard brings the opium tin to Vera's room. While filling the bong, she asks if he plans to make any further improvements. Ledgard replies that there's nothing more to be done. She's now got the best skin in the world. When Vera asks what will happen to her now, Ledgard becomes evasive and defensive. As he tries to leave, Vera blocks him and starts seducing him, knowing he likes her. She reveals that she knows about the hidden camera in her room and its location, feeling like they almost live together because he spends so much time watching her. Flustered, Ledgard rushes out of the room. Back in his own room, he sees Vera on his monitor, giving him an amorous look straight into the camera. The next day, while Ledgard eats breakfast, a TV news program mentions a carnival. Marilia tells him he made a mistake using Gal's face as a model for Vera, making her look too much like his late wife. This leaves Ledgard in a dilemma. Marilia believes he must either kill Vera or keep her captive indefinitely because she will try to commit suicide again. Marilia also thinks Ledgard is falling for Vera. Ledgard decides to dismiss all the assistants and servants from the estate. As 3 servants leave, a man in carnival attire approaches and rings the intercom at the front gate. He tells Marilia he's here to see his mother, who he hasn't seen in 10 years. Knowing she wasn't among those who just left. When Marilia tells him to leave, he moons the camera, revealing a birthmark that she recognizes. The man is her son, Zeka, Roberto Alamo. She reluctantly lets him onto the estate, but tells him he can only stay a few minutes. However, it quickly becomes clear that Zeka wants more than a brief visit. He's acquainted with Ledgard, having seen a presentation in Madrid, and tracked him to El Cigarral. Worse, Zeka participated in a jewelry store robbery where he killed an employee and is seeking refuge from the police. He also wants Ledgard to perform plastic surgery on his face, now plastered on wanted posters across Spain. Marilia warns him that Ledgard would kill him rather than help him, but Zeka acts as if he owns the place. While grabbing a bottle of wine, Zeka sees a monitor showing Vera doing yoga. As he watches, Vera looks up at the camera, sensing she's being observed. Zeka mistakes Vera for Gal, whom he knew before her death. Marilia pulls a gun on Zeka, ordering him to leave, but she can't bring herself to shoot. Zeka quickly disarms her. Zeka ties Marilia to a chair and stuffs a rag into her mouth. As he searches the mansion for Vera's room, Vera hears the noise and grows increasingly nervous. Zeka finds Vera's room locked and comes back downstairs to force Marilia to tell him where the key is. After getting the key, he returns to Vera's room. When he opens the door, Vera kicks it shut in his face and tries to escape, but he grabs her ankle and drags her back. As he pins her down, Vera demands to know who he is. It's revealed that Zeka caused the car crash that killed Gal. Mistaking Vera for Gal, Zeka attempts to rape her, tearing open her body stocking and groping her. When Zeka mentions wanting Ledgard to perform plastic surgery on his face, Vera sees a chance to escape. She offers to act as a kidnapped victim and submit to sex with Zeka if he lets her go afterward. As Zeka forces himself on Vera, he doesn't understand why she acts like she's in pain, as Gal never did. Still unaware that Vera isn't Gal, Ledgard arrives home earlier than expected. He finds Marilia tied up and sees Zeka raping Vera through the monitor. Ledgard takes Marilia's gun and goes upstairs. Vera, seeing Ledgard over Zeka's shoulder, stares blankly, hoping Ledgard will kill both her and Zeka. At the last moment, Ledgard re-aims the gun and kills Zeka without harming Vera. Ledgard brings the opium tin to Vera to help her calm down. As she smokes, Marilia cleans up and confides a secret to Vera that neither Ledgard nor Zeka knew. They are half-brothers. Marilia is the mother of both Ledgard and Zeka. Ledgard's father owned the estate and had an affair with Marilia, resulting in Robert, Ledgard, as Mrs. Ledgard was sterile. The Ledgards passed Robert off as their son, but Marilia was the one who raised him. Later, one of the household servants fathered Zeka with Marilia. Marilia blames herself for both Ledgard and Zeka's insanity, believing she carries a gene for it. Zeka grew up on the streets and ran drugs as a child. Marilia didn't see him until 12 years ago when he came looking for shelter. She hid him in a shed, but Gal found him and developed a crush on him. Gal agreed to run away with Zeka, but their car crashed and caught fire. It's revealed that Gal didn't die in the crash itself. Zeka ran away, leaving her in the burning car. Ledgard found his wife, horribly burned and scarred, and saved her life, caring for her day and night on the estate. During this time, he began his research on the synthetic skin compound. Ledgard removed all mirrors from the house and ensured Gal slept during the day and was awake only at night. Miraculously, Gal began to recover and could eventually walk without help. But one morning, Gal heard their daughter, Norma, singing a song she had taught her. Gal went to the window and saw her reflection after moving the curtains and opening the blinds. Unable to bear the sight of her burned reflection, Gal jumped out the window to her death, right in front of Norma. Traumatized by the experience, Norma later committed suicide in the same manner. Ledgard comes home, and Vera gives him a compassionate look. They start making love, but Vera's too sore to continue. Ledgard agrees to wait until the next night, and they fall asleep in each other's arms. While they sleep, Ledgard dreams about a wedding from 6 years ago. He had helped his friend Casilda Ephraes get together with her husband and was attending their wedding. Norma, now a young adult, was also there after leaving a psychiatric hospital and doing well with therapy. She was socializing with Casilda's nieces and smiling at some handsome young men. As everyone dances, Ledgard notices that Norma isn't with Casilda's nieces and goes to look for her. He hears moaning from young women having sex in the trees but doesn't see Norma. Then, he sees a young man riding away on a motorcycle. Following the motorcycle's path, he finds Norma's shoes and sweater on the ground and discovers her lying unconscious under a tree. He rushes to her, but when she wakes up, she screams hysterically at him. In the present, Ledgard wakes up from this bad memory. He sees Vera sleeping beside him and puts his arm around her. The scene then shifts to focus on Vera's face and her own dreams. A young man, Vicente, Jean Cornet, who Norma had smiled at during the wedding, works in his mother's dress shop. He picks up a dress and offers it as a gift to his mother's assistant, Cristina, Barbara Lenny. Vicente has a crush on Cristina, but she doesn't feel the same because she's a lesbian and dating another woman. She jokes that if he likes the dress so much, he should wear it himself. Vicente's mother tells him to leave Cristina alone. Vicente says he needs to get going anyway because his friend Jorge is taking him to Casilda's wedding. Even though Vicente wasn't invited, Jorge knows one of Casilda's nieces and said he could get Vicente in. Vicente gets changed and prepares to attend the after-wedding dance party. As a man comes into the shop to sell his wife's clothes, Vicente rides off on his motorcycle. Ledgard and Vera are shown still asleep as Vera's dreams continue. At the wedding, Vicente catches Norma's eye, and they smile at each other. Jorge and some friends go into the gardens with Casilda's nieces, and Vicente and Norma follow but soon lag behind. The young group drinks and smokes pot, clearly looking to have fun. Vicente and Norma seem a bit shy but hold hands as they walk into the trees. Vicente asks Norma if she's taken any high pills like everyone else. Norma, misunderstanding, lists the psychotropic medication she's on. As they walk, Norma trips on her high heels, gets frustrated, kicks them off, and pulls off her sweater, chuckling unsteadily. Vicente, thinking she's high like the others, doesn't know about her past psychosis. When Norma says that clothes make her feel claustrophobic and she'd prefer to be naked, Vicente misunderstands and offers to help her undress. He starts kissing and fondling her, gently laying her down against a tree and sliding down the straps of her dress. As Vicente starts having sex with Norma, she begins to panic and push him away. He covers her mouth to keep her quiet, but she bites his hand. Angrily, he hits her, knocking her unconscious. Scared, Vicente fixes her clothes and quickly leaves, not noticing that Ledgard has seen him and noted his motorcycle's license plate. A week later, Vicente, now sober, tells his mother and Cristina he wants to travel for a while. For now, he just plans to ride around and be back for dinner. However, a van follows him, forces him off the road, and the masked driver shoots him with a tranquilizer dart. The driver loads Vicente and his motorcycle into the van and drives off. Vicente wakes up chained to a wall in a stone shed with a pail of water, which he drinks from thirstily. Vicente's mother talks to a police captain who says Vicente's motorcycle was found wrecked at the bottom of Finisterre Cliffs, and that his body was likely swept out to sea. They questioned his friends and Cristina, who all mentioned that Vicente wanted to leave town. The captain thinks Vicente would be far away if he were alive, but Vicente's mother insists he must have been kidnapped because he would have told her if he wasn't coming home for dinner. Norma is hospitalized again after the assault, and she's terrified of any male, including Ledgard. She sees Vicente and every man and becomes hysterical. Even Ledgard's presence scares her, and she hides in a closet crying and whimpering. The nurses can't dress her in anything other than a hospital gown because she tears off any fitted clothing. Meanwhile, Vicente remains locked in the shed, half-starved and going crazy from isolation. One morning, he finds the water pail refilled, but he's still suffering. Ledgard finally enters the shed, revealing himself as Vicente's kidnapper. He washes Vicente and gives him food and warm clothes, but doesn't explain why he's holding him captive. Norma commits suicide by jumping out of a hospital window. At her funeral, Ledgard blames the hospital and the chief psychiatrist. Ledgard shaves Vicente's face and lies about burying his own daughter that day. He then puts chloroform on Vicente's face, knocking him out. Ledgard brings Vicente to El Cigarral's operating room, strips him naked, and ties him to a table. With his medical team, Ledgard performs a vaginoplasty on Vicente, giving him a woman's vagina. Ledgard keeps Vicente in a private room in the clinic. He brings dildos of different sizes and instructs Vicente to use them to stretch the vaginal tissue he created until the largest one fits comfortably. After 4 weeks, Ledgard examines Vicente and tells him the vagina looks healed. Vicente hopes he can go home, but Ledgard says he's not done yet. He reveals that he's seeking revenge because Vicente raped Norma, leading to her psychosis and suicide. Over time, Vicente undergoes a complete physical transformation. He grows real breasts, and his skin is enhanced with Ledgard's synthetic gal skin. His face is covered with a mask, and his hair doesn't grow back. One day, as Ledgard helps Vicente put on a body stocking, Vicente attacks him to escape, but fails. Ledgard locks down the estate and confronts Vicente, who tries to kill himself but survives. Weeks later, Ledgard removes Vicente's mask, revealing his new identity as Vera. Vicente's old identity is erased as part of Ledgard's punishment for the rape and Norma's death. Ledgard tries to provide Vera with clothes and makeup, but Vera refuses. Instead, he turns to yoga and ceramics for solace, even as Ledgard brings Marilia back to help care for Vera. In his room, Vera writes dates on the wall, marking his time in captivity. Ledgard and Marilia observe Vera writing intensely on the wall. Marilia explains that Vera learned her name and the current date through the intercom and began covering the walls with writings. The top of one wall is filled with consecutive calendar dates, spanning from July 2008 to April 2010. Ledgard keeps Vera's true identity as Gal a secret from Marilia, but Marilia recognizes Gal's face in Vera. Vera's room is covered with various writings, resembling a diary or journal. She repeatedly writes yoga mantras and calendar dates. Returning to the present, the morning after Ledgard and Vera slept together, Vera has gained the privilege to come downstairs to the kitchen and prepare breakfast for herself and Ledgard. Marilia is cautious and distrusts Vera. Over breakfast, Ledgard and Vera discuss a promise they made the previous night. Vera is no longer considered a prisoner but a tenant on the estate, promising never to leave Ledgard. Ledgard is starting to win over Vera's affections. Ledgard arranges for Marilia to take Vera shopping in town, though Marilia is reluctant and brings her gun. Vera comes downstairs well-dressed, including black stockings and high heels. Ledgard allows Vera to buy whatever she likes using his credit cards. Fulgencio, Ledgard's colleague, visits and wants to discuss using El Cigarral as a clinic again, despite Ledgard stopping its use after a warning from the Biotechnology Institute's president. Fulgencio's team is interested in renting rooms due to the isolated setting being popular with patients, but Ledgard refuses and sends him away. Instead of leaving, Fulgencio follows Ledgard to his study. Ledgard has a pistol in his desk drawer and lights up a cigarette before Fulgencio enters. Fulgencio shows Ledgard a newspaper article about 200 missing young men and women over the past decade. One of the photos is of Vicente, whom Fulgencio recognizes as the patient who had the vaginoplasty. The article mentions that Vicente was last seen by his family on September 10, 2006, and his mother is still searching for him 6 years later. Fulgencio knows this could mean serious trouble for Ledgard on ethical grounds. Ledgard, aware of Fulgencio's intentions to blackmail him, confronts him in his study with a gun, warning him to be careful whom he speaks to. Just as Fulgencio starts to leave, Vera enters the study, having overheard the conversation. She asserts that she came to the clinic willingly, and her name is Vera Cruz, not Vicente. She casually sits on Ledgard's lap, and as Fulgencio leaves, Vera notices the newspaper photo of Vicente and nervously asks Ledgard for a cigarette. Later that evening, Ledgard and Vera are intimate in his room, but Vera finds herself sore from the earlier assault by Zika. She realizes she left her lubricant cream in her purse, which is still in Ledgard's study. Ledgard allows her to go retrieve it. In the study, Vera grabs Ledgard's gun from his desk and hides it in her purse. She looks sadly at Vicente's photo in the newspaper and kisses it before returning upstairs. Back in Ledgard's room, Vera hands Ledgard the cream, but instead of opening it, she pulls out the gun and shoots him in the chest, revealing that her promise to stay with him was a lie. Marilia hears the gunshot and rushes to Ledgard's room, where she discovers her son dead on the bed. She accuses Vera, and in her rage, Vera shoots and kills Marilia, hiding under the bed to avoid detection. After finally escaping from captivity and Ledgard's cruel experiments, Vicente walks out of El Cigarral. The next day, a taxi drops him off at his mother's dress shop. Mrs. Pinheiro sends Cristina to assist him. Cristina is surprised when Vicente knows her name. In a whisper, Vicente reveals that he is actually Vicente. He underwent a sex change, escaped after killing 2 people, and now he needs Cristina's help. Cristina is unsure at first, but when Vicente removes his jacket to reveal the dress he wanted to give her at Casilda's wedding, something only Vicente would know, both of them start crying. Mrs. Pinheiro comes out to see what's happening, and the movie ends with Vicente softly telling his mother, "Soy Vicente, I'm Vicente."